Breaking news and a big loss in court for Team Delulu. Literally minutes ago, Judge Lyman in New York ruled on the Wayfarer party's request to squash subpoenas, and they got a big win.
Breaking news, Justin Baldoni just got a big win, meaning Blake Lively got a...
Blake Lively, once celebrated as the internet's golden girl, is now facing a serious blow to the carefully polished image she shared with Ryan Reynolds. Justin Baldoni's recent court victory has brought forward a side of Blake that many never expected to see. What appeared to be an attempt to regain public sympathy quickly backfired, sparking widespread backlash and raising uncomfortable questions. As her narrative unraveled under intense scrutiny, public support began to fade. With the truth now exposed, the once-adored power couple is under constant criticism, and this time, charm and flawless presentation may not be enough to protect their reputation.
They got a big win, not a unilateral win, because the goddess of gaslighting did score a narrow victory as well. Hair care professional wanted all of this information for an over 2-year period. Judge Lyman continues, including but not limited to call logs, text logs, data logs, and cell site information. On February 14th, the Wayfarer parties moved to squash the subpoenas as overly broad and...
This was never just a misunderstanding or a temporary setback in Blake Lively's career. It was a full-scale power play. Once regarded as Hollywood royalty, Blake allegedly attempted to steamroll an entire film production, behaving as though she held absolute authority. What began as a passion project for director Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios soon descended into chaos, fueled by her aggressive push for creative control. Behind closed doors, she reportedly used every tactic available: backdoor negotiations, pressure campaigns, and direct interference, all in an effort to dictate the film's direction. In a stunning twist of fate, the very strategies meant to sideline Baldoni have now left Blake cornered in court. The legal battle has exposed the depth of her behind-the-scenes takeover, and from day one, Hollywood has been consuming every explosive detail. The production quickly fell into complete disarray, and this was far from casual input. Blake reportedly rewrote major portions of the script, exerted control over costume design, and clashed with the editor, creating a toxic environment that nearly derailed the entire film. But her involvement didn't stop there. She allegedly went a step further by replacing the experienced professionals Justin Baldoni had hired with her own hand-picked team, bringing in a new composer, wardrobe designer, and editor. What was meant to be a collaborative project turned into a one-woman operation, leaving the studio scrambling to regain control as Blake acted as though the production belonged to her. Then came the career-threatening mistake. In a move so reckless it shocked industry insiders, Blake screened an unapproved rough cut of the unfinished film at a literary event while it was still in post-production. That unauthorized decision not only shattered trust with the studio, but also became the final straw, pushing her straight into a legal and public relations nightmare.
Congratulations. The movie was amazing.
Thank you.
There were tears in the audience.
Amazing.
I heard there were even tears on set. And Colleen, this story is so personal to you. Tell me why Blake and Brandon were the one.
Blake Lively's unauthorized screening of the film completely blindsided Wayfarer Studios, and the fallout was swift and explosive. This wasn't just a breach of protocol, it was a direct defiance of the studio's explicit orders. More than bold, the move was a clear violation of industry standards, shaking her reputation to its core. In Hollywood, early cuts of major films are guarded like state secrets, especially on high-stakes projects. Yet Blake bypassed the approval process entirely. This was no minor misstep. It actively sabotaged the studio's distribution strategy and triggered a chain reaction that left insiders stunned and panic spreading behind the scenes. In the process, she handed Justin Baldoni a powerful legal advantage, providing undeniable proof of reckless interference that shifted the momentum of the case in his favor. And yet, instead of pulling back, Blake chose to press forward, only deepening the crisis she had created. Instead of stepping back, Blake went on the offensive, launching a full-scale counterattack. What had once remained a behind-the-scenes dispute quickly erupted into a full-blown scandal, dragging her once carefully polished image through the mud for all of Hollywood and the public to witness.
So you guys, Colleen Hoover just reactivated her Instagram account, and she has apparently deleted all of the photos with Blake Lively. And Ryan Reynolds' school teacher has just reached out to me. Plus, there has been movement in their court case. She asked him herself. Initially, he was just getting involved with this project because of the book, but then she asked him herself to play Ryle in the movie. And things were great until Blake Lively, right? We actually had, and I think we're still trying to pull it in, this old clip of her discussing how amazing Justin Baldoni was, because he didn't just want to take on this book project, but it was important for him to understand the readers and the fans of the book, what it was that they adored about these characters, because he didn't want to disappoint them when he brought this to life. Chris, were we able to pull that in? We can show it later.
Blake Lively's legal and PR nightmare has spiraled into a full-scale Hollywood scandal, leaving her once golden image in ruins. In a desperate attempt to control the narrative, she allegedly went straight to the New York Times, leaking damaging insider details in an apparent effort to smear director Justin Baldoni and recast herself as the true victim. The timing was anything but accidental. The explosive articles surfaced just as the lawsuit against her was intensifying, seemingly designed to sway public opinion before the case could further unravel in court. But the strategy backfired spectacularly. Rather than winning sympathy, the leak only fueled deeper skepticism about her actions and intentions. When it finally came time to face the judge, Blake Lively found herself with virtually no legal traction. Her team's first move, an attempt to secure a gag order to silence Justin Baldoni's formidable attorney, Brian Friedman, was swiftly shut down, with the court refusing to even entertain the request. That decision left Friedman free to publicly dismantle her narrative piece by piece, and it was only the beginning. Lively then tried to avoid a deposition altogether, hoping to sidestep direct questioning from Baldoni's legal team, but that effort was also denied. The judge ordered her to sit for a sworn deposition, opening the door to even more damaging revelations about her aggressive push to seize control of It Ends With Us. Reports allege she went far beyond offering creative input, forcing seasoned professionals out, hijacking the creative process, and screening an unauthorized rough cut at a literary event without studio approval. The courtroom losses continued to mount. With the gag order denied, Friedman spoke openly and without restraint, labeling Lively's accusations as calculated and dishonest. Now, fully empowered by the court, he continues to publicly and relentlessly dismantle her claims. Hollywood has taken notice. Studios aren't just wary, they're actively distancing themselves. It's not only the lawsuit that's raising alarms, but the way Lively handled it, as no studio wants to risk millions on a project only to see its lead actor stage a behind-the-scenes takeover that derails production. And now the fallout has widened. Ryan Reynolds is officially caught in the storm. Once considered one of Hollywood's most bankable and beloved stars, Reynolds is now facing scrutiny of his own. Insiders claim he wasn't merely a bystander, but was allegedly backing Lively's takeover from behind the scenes. Some even speculate the couple viewed this as a calculated power move, potentially laying the groundwork for a sequel they could fully control. That once quiet influence has now turned into a serious liability. Ryan Reynolds' previously untouchable reputation is beginning to crack as his name becomes increasingly entangled in the controversy. The failed gag order has emerged as a defining moment in Blake Lively's unraveling. filed in early February 2025, her legal team argued that Brian Friedman's public statements were causing irreparable damage to her already fragile reputation. But on February 19, 2025, the court flatly rejected the motion. The message was unmistakable. Lively could not silence the truth, and Friedman would not be restrained. That ruling effectively gave Justin Baldoni's legal team the green light to go fully public, and they have wasted no time doing so. Friedman has gone on record describing Lively's tactics as manipulative and disingenuous, and with no restrictions in place, he continues to expose what he claims was a calculated effort to seize control of the project. At the same time, Lively's attempts to evade direct accountability have collapsed just as dramatically. On February 15, 2025, her team sought to block a sworn deposition, only to be swiftly overruled. The court made it clear she would be required to answer questions under oath, opening the door to even more damaging revelations. Under oath, Blake Lively now faces aggressive questioning from Justin Baldoni's legal team, prepared to scrutinize every controversial move, from creative overreach to alleged contract violations. What once began as a private dispute over a film's direction has now erupted into one of Hollywood's most talked about scandals. Every attempt Lively has made to control the narrative has only intensified the fallout. The legal defeats, the failed PR maneuvers, and the leaked article have all fueled a dramatic collapse of her public image. And with Brian Friedman operating without restraint and Ryan Reynolds now firmly under the microscope, this saga is far from reaching a conclusion.
In the Hollywood world, what is wrong with her taking over the film?
I've never seen it before in my 30-plus year career in Hollywood. And an executive producer is below a producer in the film world. An executive producer signed up to be an executive producer, and that's it. As the time progressed in this film, she decided that she wanted to be a producer. She started to make edits. She wanted to be part of the editing team. There were people hired, like human beings actually hired to do the editing job, who had done work as editors. She wanted to be part of that team. The next thing you know, she took over the editing. She started making threats that she wouldn't promote the movie, that she wanted to be in control of marketing of the movie, that she would do nothing in terms of promotion unless she was the actual editor.
Blake Lively's legal nightmare has only deepened after the court once again rejected her latest attempt to dodge accountability. In an apparent effort to avoid being questioned under oath, her legal team argued that her high-profile status and existing court filings should exempt her from sitting for a deposition. The judge wasn't persuaded. In a decisive ruling, the court ordered Lively to appear for a sworn deposition and answer for every alleged manipulative move she made during the production of It Ends With Us. The decision delivered a major blow. Now, every behind-the-scenes action, from quietly rewriting scenes and pushing Justin Baldoni's team aside, to leaking damaging information to the press and attempting to wrest control from Wayfarer Studios, is set to be examined in unforgiving legal detail. And no amount of PR spin can shield her from what's coming. But just when it seemed the situation couldn't worsen, it did. Not only did Lively's team fail to block the deposition, they also lost their bid to restrict what Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, is allowed to publicly reveal, granting him full legal clearance to speak openly about the case. The situation for Blake Lively is rapidly turning catastrophic. If Brian Friedman's past statements are any guide, the outlook is grim. He has already targeted her credibility, publicly highlighting the glaring hypocrisy of leaking confidential information to the New York Times to smear Justin Baldoni, while simultaneously trying to block access to evidence that could expose her own tactics. Hollywood is taking notice. Studio executives, already uneasy about her conduct during production, are now deeply concerned about her courtroom behavior. Behind the scenes, insiders are questioning her reliability, not just as a creative force, but as a professional. What started as a messy behind-the-scenes feud erupted into a full-scale scandal on February 22, 2025, with Variety reporting that top studio heads are reevaluating their relationships with her. Her courtroom losses, erratic legal strategies, and disregard for industry norms have instilled genuine fear in Hollywood. No one wants to invest millions in a project that could be hijacked or embroiled in legal chaos. Media sentiment echoes this alarm. On February 25, 2025, a legal analyst told The Hollywood Reporter that this isn't just a lawsuit, it's career suicide. Every legal move Lively has made has backfired spectacularly, and the industry is watching her unravel in real time. With her deposition confirmed, Friedman unrestricted, and no legal shields remaining, the next phase of this battle could be devastating. The illusion of control is gone, and the harsh reality is about to hit. Hollywood isn't waiting to see if she recovers, it's already pulling away. What makes her downfall even more striking is the speed of its collapse. Her public image began cracking in early 2024, but by January 2025, things had reached a breaking point. Fans, once devoted, turned against her after criticizing her tone-deaf handling of It Ends With Us. Viewers slammed her performance and the film's marketing for stripping away the story's emotional depth and trivializing serious themes. Then came the disaster that sealed her fate. On January 14, 2025, the film's controversial trailer dropped, and fan outrage exploded, with many accusing the production of romanticizing abusive dynamics in the story. The film was accused of glamorizing trauma and completely missing in the heart of its source material. What had once promised to be a successful adaptation became a lightning rod for controversy, with Blake Lively, who had aggressively pushed for creative control, squarely at the center. Instead of winning over fans, the trailer alienated them, and rather than salvaging her public image, it incinerated it. Lively's downfall wasn't the result of mere bad luck. It was the inevitable outcome of strategic missteps, unchecked ambition, and a refusal to recognize when events were spiraling out of control. With the industry watching her unravel in real time, the question is no longer whether her career can recover, it's whether anything is left to save.
Blake No Teeth Lively has experienced yet another court loss. So she wanted to amend her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, right? The judge said, okay, cool, you have until Valentine's Day, February 14th. And now Blake Lively was like, oh, hold on, wait a minute, we're not ready to present yet. And she was asking for an extension until March 5th. And then the judge said, okay, why? And she's like, duh, because I'm Khaleesi and I said so. And then the judge was like, LOL, yeah, no, I'll give you until Monday. I'll give you a couple extra days. You have until Monday, but you don't have until March 5th. And so now she has until this upcoming Monday, which is February 17th, to figure out what she's going to amend in her complaint. And initially there were rumors that the amendment was going to come with some sort of statement from Jenny Slate, who played Justin Baldoni's sister in It Ends With Us. And so people were assuming that maybe Jenny was going to be some sort of star witness, that this was going to be the smoking gun. Maybe she had something that she witnessed that she was going to bring to the table.
Blake Lively's career appears to be spiraling, and recent events may have pushed it beyond repair. It all started with a trailer and quickly snowballed into one of the most spectacular Hollywood implosions in recent memory. When It Ends With Us released its first trailer on January 14th, 2025, fans didn't just criticize it, they tore it apart. Viewers condemned it as tone-deaf and a shameless distortion of Colleen Hoover's emotionally charged novel. The backlash was so intense that Sony rushed to edit and re-release a new version just a week later in a desperate attempt at damage control. By then, however, the damage was already irreversible. Matters worsened dramatically when Lively's legal battle with director Justin Baldoni became public. The moment Baldoni struck back in court, accusing her of hijacking the film's production, public opinion shifted overnight, and questions began emerging about her professionalism, motives, and control over the project. Questions began to mount over whether Blake Lively had sabotaged It Ends With Us from the very start. On February 10th, 2025, Variety dropped a bombshell. Leaked internal emails revealed that Lively had demanded extensive script rewrites, fired key editors, and even installed her own composer, all without studio approval. She hadn't merely offered creative input, she had allegedly taken control of the entire production. Fans weren't the only ones turning against her. Industry insiders began speaking out, with a Sony executive claiming Lively's ego derailed the project, transforming what should have been an emotionally resonant adaptation into a marketing disaster. In a last-ditch effort to protect her image, her legal team filed a gag order against Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, hoping to silence him and regain control of the narrative. The court, however, rejected it outright, ruling that Friedman could continue speaking freely, a decision that immediately drew Hollywood's attention. The fallout has been swift and unforgiving. Industry veterans are calling this one of the most devastating career meltdowns in years. Just a year ago, Blake Lively was considered a guaranteed box office draw. Now, she is viewed as a liability. On February 25th, 2025, a Warner Bros. Producer told Deadline that the studio had quietly shelved a future project with her, while a Netflix insider revealed that she had been dropped from a lead role in a thriller after the Baldoni lawsuit became public. And the stakes are only rising. Lively has a major film release scheduled for summer 2025, now seen as the ultimate test of her staying power. If it underperforms, it could be the final nail in her Hollywood coffin. A senior Variety critic summarized it bluntly on February 27th. Hollywood is watching closely, and if audiences turn their backs on Blake Lively, her career may not recover. Just when it seemed things couldn't get any messier, her husband of over a decade, Ryan Reynolds, is now being drawn into the controversy, adding another layer to the spiraling scandal. Although Ryan Reynolds was initially thought to be uninvolved, he has now become the center of a growing fan theory, suggesting he may have played a behind-the-scenes role in the chaos. The spark? A single, slow, emotionally intimate dance scene in It Ends With Us between Lively's character Lily and Justin Baldoni's character Ryle. At first glance, it seemed like a standard romantic moment, but fans noticed striking similarities to the iconic 2011 Green Lantern dance, where Lively and Reynolds first fell in love with each other on screen. Speculation grew that Reynolds wasn't pleased with the scene, and by early February, X, formerly Twitter, and Reddit were buzzing with debates about whether he had seen the final cut and influenced events behind the scenes. Some pointed out he appeared unbothered by steamy scenes with other co-stars, yet this dance supposedly triggered a full-blown lawsuit. The timeline only fueled suspicion. In December 2024, Lively accused Baldoni of on-set misconduct, and on February 8, 2025, the New York Times published leaked private messages, including one in which Baldoni complimented Lively's performance. "I know it's late, but I just wanted to say how incredible you were today. You made that scene come alive." According to sources, Reynolds saw these texts, and he wasn't happy. 4 days later, Variety cited a source claiming Reynolds was displeased with how much Blake and Justin were interacting. He wasn't controlling, but he certainly didn't approve. By January 2025, Baldoni's career had begun to collapse. His talent agency dropped him, podcast deals vanished, and 2 major film projects were canceled. Fans now believe it was no coincidence that Lively's rise coincided with Baldoni's fall. Legal experts say this wasn't simply about creative differences. It was about control, influence, and reshaping the Hollywood hierarchy. While Lively initially appeared to have won the battle, the long-term consequences are unfolding rapidly. Wayfarer Studios, co-founded by Baldoni, has officially cut ties with him, scrubbing his name from upcoming projects, a clear signal that Hollywood has moved on. But Lively didn't emerge unscathed. Her production reputation is in ruins, with Sony insiders claiming she massively overstepped her role, exerting control far beyond what was appropriate. Blake Lively's influence on It Ends With Us went far beyond what her executive producer title allowed. Sources claim she personally vetoed creative decisions, ignored studio protocols, and undermined the collaborative process. When her legal team tried to prevent her deposition, arguing that her celebrity status made it unnecessarily invasive, the court stood firm. The judge ruled that Lively must testify under oath, meaning every behind-the-scenes decision, from leaking details to the press to unilaterally replacing the composer, will now face brutal scrutiny. Even worse for her, the court refused to limit what Brian Friedman could reveal publicly, granting Baldoni's team a green light to expose her behind-the-scenes actions. And Friedman hasn't held back. He's already called out her hypocrisy, highlighting how she leaked confidential documents while attempting to block evidence that reflected poorly on her. His blunt critiques have intensified doubts across the industry, with studio heads openly questioning whether Lively is worth the risk. A legal analyst told The Hollywood Reporter on February 25, 2025, "This isn't just a bad lawsuit, it's career suicide. Every move she makes is backfiring, and Hollywood is watching her self-destruct in real time." With her deposition locked in, Friedman unrestricted, and no legal protections remaining, the next few months could prove devastating. The illusion of control is shattered, and the truth is about to hit with full force. Hollywood isn't waiting to see if she recovers. It's already moving on. After months of backlash, legal blunders, and growing skepticism from both fans and insiders, Blake Lively's once flawless reputation has imploded. The question is no longer whether she can bounce back, it's whether there's anything left to save.